This is a soft cataract with pseudoexfoliation and weak zonule. Let us observe this surgery. The main incision has been made, and now this is a side port on the right side of the main incision. And now an air bubble is injected into the anterior chamber, and beneath this air bubble, trypan blue dye is applied over the anterior capsule. And now this is a bit of adrenaline, and now the dye is washed out. The pupil has dilated quite well, and now the anterior chamber is filled up with methyl cellulose 2%. And now see what happens. Okay, one more side port is made on the left side of the main incision, and now see what happens if I try to do rhexis with utrata forceps. The zonule is so weak that I cannot even make a puncture of the anterior capsule. So I take a 26 gauge bend needle with sharp edges and raise a capsular tag. You can see that the whole lens moves and there is wrinkling of the anterior capsule. This indicates generalized weakness of the zonule. Now Capsulorhexis is being done very gently. Care is being taken so that there is no jerky pull, and whatever zonule is intact remains so. An adequate sized rhexis has been obtained, and now this is hydrodissection. The rhexis, size of the rhexis is about 5 mm, and the nucleus cannot prolapse out of this nucleus. The cataract is soft. I cannot hold and chop this nucleus because it is quite soft. So there are a lot of challenges in this case. So my plan now is to do stop and chop. The machine being used is Oakley Cataract 3. I am in Phaco on mode with vacuum of only 30 mm of mercury. Flow rate is 20 and ultrasonic power is 60%. Just remove some superficial cortical lens matter, and then I turn the handpiece, make the bevel up, and now I start making the trench. Initially the vacuum was about 60, and then I reduced it further to about 30 mm of mercury. And now I am going to make a deep trench. And now the nucleus has been divided into two heminuclei, but the crack is not complete from one side to the other side. And now it is very difficult to rotate this nucleus because the zonule is very weak, but carefully I could do some rotation, and now this is the larger heminucleus, and I am going to divide this heminucleus into two pieces. This is a trench. When the trench is quite deep, we try to divide this nucleus. You get a crack, but the lens matter is sticky and the crack is not complete. The pieces are not completely separate from each other. Now I inject some visco behind the anterior capsular rim to make some space, and now my plan is to implant a capsular tension ring. If I try to emulsify the nuclear pieces, I'm going to pull the bag because the nuclear pieces are not separate. So this is the right time to support the capsular bag. And here goes the CTR. One end goes behind the rhexis margin, anterior capsular rim, behind the anterior capsular rim. It is pushed inside, and now I take a Sinskey hook in my left hand and very gently I place it in the capsular bag. And now the bag is supported and I can work with some relief. Some more visco is injected, and now I take a Sinskey hook and my small chopper and try to separate the pieces. Yes, I could separate this piece, and now my plan is to lift up one piece. This is a small piece. With two instruments, I bring it out of the capsular bag. Partially I could do that. Inject some visco. And now I'm going to work for some time with the Phaco handpiece. I'm trying to remove some nuclear pieces. I face this piece at 3 o'clock. Yes, now I hope it will come. Yes, this piece is now out of the capsular bag and it is coming to the tip of the Phaco needle. And now the other pieces, since the CTR has been placed, it is no longer rotating. So I have to just lift up each nuclear piece. Inject some visco, take the two instruments, go behind on nuclear piece and lift this piece and pull it out of the capsular bag. Yes, now I will be able to emulsify this piece. So I come out, inject some visco, no, at this time I didn't inject visco, just went in with the tip of the phaco needle and I'm emulsifying these pieces which are free and which has come out of the capsular bag. Now here yes, I could hold this piece and now I'm going to do a little risky job. I'm trying to hold a piece which is at 6 o'clock, but since the bag is supported by CTR, I'm hoping that this will come out. Yes, it is coming out. We cannot hurry up in such cases. This is a totally unedited recording, and that's why this surgery is long, about 21 minutes. But I thought if I don't show the whole surgery, one cannot appreciate how much struggle is there in this surgery. Some visco injected through the left side port and some more through the main incision, and now my plan is to pull out the last big piece of nucleus from the equator of the capsular bag. So here it is. I'm just pulling it. Now I go through the main incision and push it, and it comes out of the capsular bag. But at this time, since the posterior capsule is now exposed, I have to protect the posterior capsule and emulsify this nuclear piece. So I ask for an instrument devised by me. This is, I call it posterior capsule protector. An iris spatula has been carved in such a way that it protects the posterior capsule much better than a blunt chopper. And I can work over this instrument at the iris plane. Yes, it is done. One small piece of nucleus is there. I don't want to hold it without supporting the capsular bag with visco. So here I inject some more visco, and now I go again with the phaco needle, and this small nuclear piece is emulsified. And now is the trickiest part. When the CTR is there and the cortex is very sticky as it is in this case, it is extremely difficult to remove the cortex. So we have to be very gentle. We cannot pull it towards the center. We have to make some tangential moves and then wait for it to come out. This is a piece of nucleus, it is brought out. Again I go through the side port, catch hold of the cortex at 2 o'clock, and I'm trying to aspirate this. Yes, I could. See how sticky is the cortex. The fibers are firmly adherent to each other. Ultimately, the fibers gave in, and I could remove the cortical matter. Now, why Simcoe? Why not bimanual irrigation aspiration? With Simcoe, the control is much more, and in such weak zonule, the Simcoe is much safer than the bimanual irrigation aspiration. With bimanual, you don't know how much pull you're going to exert, but with Simcoe you can judge how strongly you are pulling and when you should stop. As you decide, immediately you can stop pulling if it is Simcoe, but the reaction time is little less. A reaction time is little more with bimanual irrigation aspiration. That means when you think you should stop, you don't stop immediately. You stop a fraction of a second later. Now cortical cleanup is done. Visco is injected, and now this is a monofocal single piece intraocular lens placed in the capsular bag. And now the lens has gone in the capsular bag, but the lens refuses to rotate. So I have to remove the visco from behind the lens in this position. How to do that? I will go through the side port and remove the visco from behind the lens. So this is Simcoe, using it to irrigate and remove the visco from the anterior chamber. We can see the rhexis margin is overlapping the optic of the intraocular lens all around. That is good. And now my plan is to go behind the intraocular lens with the irrigating probe of bimanual irrigation aspiration. First I irrigate the anterior chamber again and try to go behind the lens through the main wound, but I could not. And now I'm irrigating the anterior chamber. Now my plan is to go through the right side port. Yes, now going behind the lens, and I could irrigate the capsular bag. In this way the visco that was trapped behind the lens can come out. There's some cortex at 9 o'clock. I'm planning to remove that. Yes, it has come out. And some more cortex is there at around 7 o'clock. That also came out. The complication in such cases is, even this surgery may be very good, but after some time, after 1 or 2 years, the whole bag IOL complex can drop into the vitreous cavity, and that has to be managed by a vitreoretinal surgeon. But in this case, the CTR has supported the capsular bag quite well, and hope the bag will remain in position for quite long time. This is the final lavage of the anterior chamber. The anterior chamber is nicely formed and the case is concluded. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will help you in managing your challenging cases with weak zonule.